Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Hi, Nick and Hannah McMaster of Brighton-based folk gaze band Dateless Wonder Club with Finding Land Folk Show, music from the shores of folk. Welcome.
Welcome. Whether you are steeped in a genre like me, a toe dipper like Hannah...
Can I put my shoes on yet, Nick?
Yes, I'll take you to the local blacksmith later. Or joining the journey for the first time, we are delighted that you can join us for an hour or so of traditional and contemporary folk and folk-adjacent music from around the UK and beyond, with a healthy sprinkling of artists from our own beautiful part of the world in Sussex. What do we say, Hannah?
We say we want be druv. No, never, no we want.
We want be druv, indeed.
We start today's show as we ended the last with Derbyshire sisters Rowan and Anna Rheingans, who perform as the Rheingans sisters and play an adventurous, amorphous folk music that takes inspiration from the traditions of mainland Europe. They are currently on a UK tour, stopping by in Brighton on the 6th of March, perhaps chiefly to allow Finding Land Folk Show to provide the DJ support. I think that's the only reason, isn't it, Nick?
Absolutely.
Thanks to show partners, Brighton-based promoters Melting Vinyl for providing the opportunity. This is Sorry the Day.
Sorry the day I was married, and sorry the day I was wed, and it's so if I only had tarried when I to the altar was led. Young William, the shore is no pleasing, for let women do what they can. Oh, it's always your heart they'll be teasing, for that is the way of a man. When I was young I was bonny, had silk and bright jewels to wear, and red were my cheeks like a berry, and my heart it was free from all care. Silk now I've none for my wearing, my jewels have all gone away, and surely this life has no bearing, I'm as pale as the primrose today. Think pretty maids ere you marry, stand fast by your sweet liberty, for as long as you can you must tarry, and not be lamenting like me. I was sorry the day I was married, and sorry the day I was wed, and it's oh if I only had tarried when I to the altar was led.
That was Sorry the Day by the Rheingans sisters from their self-released 2012 album Glad Gold Hearts. Fiddle player, banjoist, songwriter Rowan Rheingans is also 1/3 of English folk vocal harmony trio Lady Masery.
Can I stop you there, Nick, quickly, for your folk knowledge? I'm going to put you on the spot. This might be a really obvious question, and I don't know why I haven't thought about it before. Is there actually a difference between being a fiddle player and a violinist? Or is it just the same thing, but it just sounds more folky?
Good question. I think it sounds more folky, but I imagine there's probably some different techniques involved in folk fiddle playing and classical violin playing, but maybe a musician out there that plays the violin or fiddle can get in touch.
Absolutely.
I always like a fiddler to get in touch with me. From their 2022 album, fittingly after that conversation, Tender, here are Lady Masery with a magnificent interpretation of Björk's hyper ballad from her 1995 album Post.
We live on a mountain right at the top, such beautiful views from the top of the mountain. Every morning I walk towards the edge and throw little things off, like car parts, bottles and cutlery. Whatever I find lying around, it's become a habit, a way to start the day. I go through all this before you wake up, so I can feel happier. Awake, I'm back at my cliff, still throwing things off. I listen to the sound they make on their way down. I follow with my eyes till they crash. Imagine what my body would sound like, and when it lands, will my eyes be closed or open? I go through all this before you wake up, so I can feel happier. To be safe again with you, I go through all this before you wake up, so I can feel happier. To be safe again with you. Safe again. Safe again. Safe again. She called to her little page boy, who was her brother's son. She told him as quick as he could go to bring her lord safe home.
sleep, that I may kiss those red ruby lips which I used to kiss so sweet. 6 times he kissed her red ruby lips, 9 times he kissed her chin, 10 times he kissed her snowy, snowy breast, where love did enter in. The lady was buried on that Sunday, before the prayer was done, and the Lord he died on the next Sunday, before the prayer begun.
You've heard Lady Masery with Hyper Ballad, followed by 1960s Southern Californian duo Kathy and Carol with their version of the Scottish child ballad Lady Masery.
So, Nick, who is Lady Masery?
Oh dear, Hannah, you're going to get cross.
Oh, God. Right, OK, let me guess this. So, I'm thinking she's maybe a fair maid. Yeah, a beautiful, beautiful fair maid, and she falls in love with a strapping lad, and she can't be with him because she's got maybe an evil father or brother or something like that who stops them being together. And I'm thinking, maybe does she get pregnant? Does she get pregnant in some way or form? And they can't be together. So she either kills herself or is killed by the evil father or brothers. And then the strapping farm lad or lord or whoever it is she's fallen in love with either dies in despair, exacts revenge, or just gets on with his life. Which one is it? Have I got it there?
Dating to the early 1800s, possibly earlier, the full story tells the tale of the Scottish Lady Masery, who rejects the northern lords who court her in favour of her true love, the English Lord William.
Okay, so
with whom she becomes pregnant.
Unbelievable. Tick, tick.
When her brothers discover their liaison, she declares that she will not surrender her true love. The brothers, however, take advantage of Lord William's absence and burn her at the stake.
Because that's a really rational response, isn't it? It's a really rational response to that happening. It's like, let's burn her at the stake.
A page boy is sent to fetch Lord William, but he arrives too late. In some versions, when Lord William returns to find his lover dead, he kills the father, mother and brothers and then throws himself into the flames, or becomes a pilgrim and names the page boy his heir.
I mean, I was almost spot on, and I didn't know the story of Lady Masery. But I'm also wondering, why kill the mother? It seemed like she wasn't involved in any of this.
Well, to be fair, she is the mother-in-law.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, Hannah, carry on. Don't despair.
Unbelievable. Now, continuing with the storytelling traditions we love are our latest guests on the Foghorn Sussex Best, our regular showcase of Sussex folk bands and artists. We are passionate about the musical talent in our historic county and are keen to spread the word. If you are a local musician or band interested in being featured, please drop us a line at findinglandfolkshow@gmail.com. But remember that wherever you are from, we are always interested in great folk music, so get in touch and we promise to listen to every submission. Back to our guests. Formed in 2017, Milton Hyde are husband and wife duo Jim and Josie Tippler, hailing from East Sussex and living at the foot of the famous Long Man of Wilmington hill figure, which one of my friends always pointed out to me looks like to someone holding 2 pool cues. And so now when I see it...
In that case, where does he keep his balls?
Absolutely. But now I can't see it. Every time I see it, that's all I see.
He'll definitely be a sort of character that says, hold my pint, wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's one of those ones that stacks 50p's along, right along. The duo's memorable, well-crafted songs blend Jim's guitar and Josie's pure vocal delivery with percussion and clarinet, which often provides a third voice. They have toured extensively around the UK, performing at notable folk clubs, including those at St Neots, Irvine and the Sutton Sound Lounge, and festivals including Bridport, Fishguard and Rochester. In addition to performing, the duo recorded their second album, The Holloway, which is planned for release in early 2023. We invited Jim from the duo to select 2 Milton Hyde tracks and 1 from an artist or band they admire.
First up is Happiest Man on Earth, which Jim calls a surprisingly upbeat song with a gentle country rock feel, featuring additional bodhran and electric guitar. The song is a tribute to the memoir of the same name by Auschwitz survivor Eddie Jaku and was published when he was 100 years old. Eddie was an inspirational peace activist and speaker who vowed to be the happiest man on earth as a mark of respect for all those that lost their lives in the Holocaust.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant.
On the night of broken glass, I lost my faithful friend. Freedom, dignity and faith in men. 172338 burned into my skin. But I can't hate, 'cause that just deepens the scars. My wounded heart was finally healed the day my son was born. I won't forgive and I can't forget, but I love you, my dear new friend. And I vow that I'll smile every day, smile for the ones I lost. Happiness doesn't fall from the sky, it's in your hands alone. I'll be the happiest man on earth. I'll tell my story to those that hear, so no one will forget. We cannot change what happened in the past. Holding on to the hate and fear would mean that they have won. But I'll turn hate round, face that fear with a smile. That evil roamed upon this earth cannot be denied. We can reverse and overcome the darkest times with love. And I vow that I'll smile every day, smile for the ones I lost. Happiness doesn't fall from the sky, it's in your hands alone. I'll be the happiest man on earth. I'll be the happiest man on earth. One day when my journey ends, I can talk to my dearest friends. From this page, my love, I'll send to you all. My wounded heart was finally healed the day my son was born. I won't forgive and I can't forget, but I love you, my dear new friend. So vow that you'll smile every day, smile for the ones you lose. Happiness doesn't fall from the sky, it's in your hands alone. Ooh, I'll be the happiest man on earth. Ooh, I'll be the happiest man on earth.
Next up is the Ballad of Gabriel Oak, which Jim describes as having simple classic mandolin and pure vocals, and relates to the story of Gabriel Oak, the hero of Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd. Jim continues, the chorus line, "When I look up, it's you I'll see. When you look up, it's there I'll be," is borrowed from a well-known phrase in the book. The tune was composed on a mandolin I bought from the estate of a local amateur luthier, Ronnie Moore.
Hannah,
Nick.
to me, Ronnie Moore doesn't sound like a local amateur luthier. To me, he sounds like a minor East End villain that used to hold up Royal Mail vans in the 1970s and was always on the books of the Sweeney.
Absolutely. Love it. Ronnie's going to do a blag. The instrument was one of hundreds of unfinished instruments Ronnie created from wood reclaimed from his job as caretaker at the old Hellingly Mental Hospital.
The sun was bright, the air was still. A wagon stops on Norcombe Hill. Gabriel Oak, he hides with care. Watch the girl make good her hair. He'd never seen someone so fair. He couldn't get her from his head. Vowed one day they would be wed. Bathsheba, please marry me. Gabriel Oak, that cannot be. My wedding gown you'll never see. Bathsheba, Everdeen, when I look up, it's you I'll see. When you look up, it's there I'll be. Then there came a fateful day. Disaster came young Gabriel's way. Upon the hill there was a cliff. His flock were driven to their death. His clothes were all that he had left. No work was there to be found. He found himself Westbury bound. Gabriel Oak, he spied a flame, helped them with the fire to tame. Bathsheba did look the same. Bathsheba, Everdeen, when I look up, it's you I see. When you look up, it's there I'll be. Gabriel took a shepherd's life, swore he'd never find a wife. Then comes Baldwin, true and straight, wants to wear it before too late. Bathsheba, she makes him wait. And as a regiment rides by, Sergeant takes Bathsheba's eye. He looked so brave upon his horse, but Sergeant Troy, his heart whose force, stole the silver from her purse. Bathsheba, Everdeen, when I look up, it's you I see. When you look up, it's there I'll be. Sergeant loved another fair. For Bathsheba he didn't care. When Fanny took eternal sleep, Troy from dawn to dusty weep, threw himself into the deep. On Christmas Eve, Baldwood planned to ask for Bathsheba's hand. But as soon as it was said, Troy returned back from the dead. Baldwood shoots him in the head. Bathsheba, Everdeen, when I look up, it's you I see. When you look up, it's there I'll be.
Gabriel Oak did win the day. A patient game, that's Gabriel's way. They married in the springtime sun. Bathsheba, her heart he'd won, and now Gabriel's tale is done.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To see Madame Bedlam, 10,000 miles I travel. Mad morning she goes in dirty toes, for to save her shoes from gravel. Still I sing bunny boys, bunny mad boys. Bedlam boys are bunny, but they all go bare and they live by the air, and they want no drink, no money. I went down to Satan's kitchen for to get me food one morning, and there I got Saul's piping hot. Hold on, it's with the turning. Still I sing bunny boys, bunny mad boys. Bedlam boys are bunny, but they all go bare and they live by the air, and they want no drink, no money. My staff is murdered giants, and they bag a long knife carries for to cut mince pies from children's thighs, with which to feed the fairies. Still I sing bunny boys, bunny mad boys. Bedlam boys are bunny, but they all go bare and they live by the air, and they want no drink, no money. And when the day of murder, the man in the moon to a powder, his stuff I'll break, his dog I'll shake, and there'll howl no demon louder. Still I sing bunny boys, bunny mad boys. Bedlam boys are bunny, but they all go bare and they live by the air, and they want no drink, no money. Still I sing bunny boys, bunny mad boys. Bedlam boys are bunny, but they all go bare and they live by the air, and they want no drink, no money.
You've just heard The Ballad of Gabriel Oak by Sussex Best featured act Milton Hyde, followed by Bedlam Boys by Irish-born, Edinburgh-based, Celtic and Americana folk artist Heidi Talbot, from her 2008 Compass Records album, In Love and Light.
Jim's final choice is by an artist he and his wife Josie admire. They have picked Elsie Marley by London-based multi-instrumentalist duo The Kimberleys, whose repertoire is drawn from traditional folk songs of the British Isles. Jim tells us that Isabel and Jim's harmonies and arrangements are incredible, and Isabel's voice is so distinctive. They have performed at Bluebell Roots, the monthly music club we host in Arlington, and at a Sussex Day event we arranged a couple of years back. brilliant musicians and great supporters of folk themselves. From the northeast of England, Elsie Marley is about a businesswoman, an alewife and notorious landlady of the Swan Inn, County Durham. I've got to say, Nick, I'm really happy she's not a tragic maid.
Get out of my pub!
We have heard several versions over the years, but this is one of our favourites.
Do you ken Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley? She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. Elsie Marley's growing so fine. She can't get up to serve the swine, but lies in bed till 8 or 9. Do you ken Elsie Marley, honey? Do you ken Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley? She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. Elsie Marley's growing so neat. It's hard for one to walk the street, 'cause every lad and lass you meet cries, do you ken Elsie Marley, honey? Do you ken Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley? She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. Elsie Marley wore a straw hat, but now she wears a velvet cap. The Lambton lads don't pay for that. Do you ken Elsie Marley, honey? Sells the barley. She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. Elsie keeps runging a nail in the house below the dale, and every tradesman up and down does call to spend his half a crown. Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley. She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. You can Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley. She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Honey. They all come their way. They drink with Elsie every day and call the fiddler for to play the tune of Elsie Marley, honey. The sailors, they all call for flip as soon as they come from the ship, and they begin to dance and to skip, to the tune of Elsie Marley, honey. Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley. She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. so fine. They treat her to a bottle of wine, and gladly they do sit and to dine. Along with Elsie Marley, along with Elsie Marley, honey. Do you can Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley? She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey. Oh, honey. Do you can Elsie Marley, honey, the wife who sells the barley? She lost her pockets and all of her money. The back of the bush is the garden, honey.
Wow. Hannah.
Nick.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
You know.
I can see your arched eyebrow.
It's
A la
Roger Moore.
Roger Moore.
It's Roger Moore all the way, yeah.
You're thinking, so you've played that, but if I played that as a part of Hannah's Could It Be Folk, we've just heard Drinking Ale by San Franciscan musician Lonely Dingo from his 2016 album Surgeon's Sturgeon. Preceding that was Elsie May by the Kimberleys from their 2020 eponymously titled self-released album.
Our thanks go to Milton Hyde for their contribution to Sussex Best and to show partners the Foghorn Micropub in Hove.
The cuckoo is a merry bird. She sings as she flies. Oh, she brings us glad tidings. She tells us no lies. She sucks the little bird's eggs for to keep her throat clear. And when she sings cuckoo, the summer draws near. Oh, the cuckoo, she's a lazy bird. She never builds a nest. She makes herself busy by singing to the rest. She never hatches her own young, and that we all do know, but leaves it to some other bird while she cries cuckoo. And when her time has come and her voice we no longer hear, oh, where she goes no one knows until another year. For the cuckoo comes in April, she sings her songs in May. In June she beats the drum, and then she'll fly away.
The opening song from the 2018 EP, The Summer Draws Near, that was Cuckoo, by the distinct and stunning voice of one of Britain's most talented folk singers, Lisa Knapp. Knapp is a favourite, a friend of the show, Vermonter balladeer Fern Maddie, who has recently completed her first UK tour, didn't she, Nick?
Didn't she just?
Didn't she just?
Now, Hannah,
Nick.
as you have said, people who are born in Vermont are Vermonters.
Yes, they are.
Some native-born Vermonters are also called woodchucks.
Isn't there a thing, a woodchuck, a chuck, chuck, a chuck, a chuck, 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 something?
All right, Shaka Khan. However, people who live in but not born in Vermont are called flatlanders, or even more disparagingly, transplants.
Oh.
Apparently, depending on just where you are in Vermont, even if you were born in Vermont, if your parents are flatlanders, you'll be called one too, and that may continue for several generations after.
Blimey, that's hardcore.
Hannah,
Nick.
would you like to hear of some other terms people use for outsiders or blow-ins, a term I first came across when travelling around County Cork in the 1990s?
I would love nothing more, Nick. I didn't think I did, but yes, now you say it, I realise that that's all I want to know about.
I was probably called a lot worse when I was around County Cork in the 1990s, being that I looked like a kind of Jamiroquai copycat.
Well, I'd say it's sort of like a sort of hybrid infusion of Jamiroquai and Noel Edmonds. No one needs to see that. Not even the poor people in Cork.
No one. Well, an estimated 12.7 million Illinoisans live in Illinois, and more than 2.7 million of them are Chicagoans living in Chicago, the third largest city in the United States. Mm-hmm. Many assume Chicago got its nickname the Windy City because of windy weather. But when reporters from the Chicago Daily Tribune first used the term, they were calling Chicago's residents windbags who lacked morals.
Oh, I love that. And also windbag, that's such a brilliant turn of the century sort of insult, isn't it?
Absolutely. Of course, we'll all be familiar with the name limey that originated from the Royal Navy's use of lime juice to prevent scurvy in the 1850s. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the century, the naval connotations were dropped and was used to refer to British immigrants in Canada, Australia, New Zealand and South Africa. Mm-hmm. But, Hannah,
Nick,
did you know Inselaffe, or island ape, is a pejorative German term for the British, allegedly dating back to English scientists Darwin and Wallace's publications on evolution?
Oh, that's very interesting.
And finally, speaking of another island, let's end this journey on the Tide Isle of Portland in Dorset, where they have an offensive term for another outsider, though in this case they are rabbits, which have long been associated with bad luck on Portland.
Oh, okay.
Use of the name is still taboo. The creatures are often referred to as underground mutton or long-eared furry things.
Oh, that's quite a cute little term.
The origin of this superstition is obscure, but it is believed to derive from quarry workers who would see rabbits emerging from their burrows immediately before a rockfall and blame them for increasing the risk of dangerous, sometimes deadly, landslides.
Those dastardly rabbits.
If a rabbit was seen in a quarry, the workers would go home for the day until the safety of the area had been assured.
Do you think I could get away with that at work? If I just I seen a rabbit, can I go home? I can't be at work anymore. My safety is compromised. Do you think?
Luckily for us, through a series of fortunate events, Fern's Brighton gig fell through and we stepped in at the last minute to host Fern for an intimate sold-out gig at show partners The Foghorn in Hove.
Hooray! I love it when a plan comes together, Nick.
A unique part of the evening was Fern interspersing her set with a Q&A. We're going to play you 3 excerpts from the Q&A and also play 2 world-exclusive live tracks.
Oh, my goodness me.
Which Fern recorded on the tour at Paper Dress Vintage in Hackney. How special is that, Hannah?
That's so special. It's so special, Nick.
To warm Fern up, I asked her an easy opener, which was, how did she get into folk music?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very musical family. My dad was a pianist and a composer, and he and my mom together, they wrote musicals. That was one of the things they did. So I grew up learning piano and guitar, and but I wasn't I hadn't really found my thing, my niche. So my family wasn't really they weren't a folky family. They weren't really doing that. But when I was a teenager, I discovered Irish fiddle music, and that really spoke to me. I fell in love with it. I actually tried to learn the fiddle so I could play Irish fiddle tunes, and I do still have a fiddle, but I'm not very good at it, and I'm not very good at playing fiddle tunes on it. But so then my dad passed away when I was 21, and that kind of shifted things for me. Before then, I hadn't really been actively musical in an intentional way. And then after he passed, I picked up the banjo actually, and I started learning Appalachian clawhammer banjo tunes, which clawhammer banjo is is a traditional style of playing the banjo that actually comes from African American and Black diasporic communities in the States. And that's kind of when I found my voice as a songwriter and a storyteller. And yeah, so I think kind of the Appalachian folk music and folk songs then kind of led me back around to the sort of like English and Scottish traditional ballads, which, you know, are totally bound up in that tradition as well. And then I brought the guitar back in and I sort of created the repertoire you are hearing. Yeah.
So what's the importance for you for playing traditional music?
Yeah. Well, I really like the stories that they hold. Like I feel like you know, I've always loved stories. I've always loved fiction, books, and, you know, even TV and movies, whatever kind of inspires me and makes me feel a connection to like characters and their ideas and their worldview, like getting in a different world. And I feel like that is what these folk songs do so well, is to, and I love history. I really, really love history and like cultural history, people's history, folk history. So these songs are these kind of stories that have kind of, in some cases, sometimes one-dimensional characters, but sometimes fully fleshed out, really interesting, really fascinating characters, or the hint of a character that maybe you feel like you can fill in some of the blanks there and find a person who's maybe not like literally a real historical person who lived, but an idea of a person that has been passed down through all of these different people and voices and stories. So I think that's why I really resonate with it, is that combination of storytelling and history and music all together.
How does the traditional and the ballad aspect sort of influence your own kind of songwriting?
Yeah, I feel like when I think about a lot of my songs, they, like, I wouldn't call ballads simple songs, but because they're not, but they do kind of like, there's almost like a trancy aspect to them, right? Like they're repeating the same sorts of musical motifs and often sometimes the same little refrains kind of more frequently than you would in a traditional verse chorus modern pop song. So I think that you can see some of that structure in my songwriting, that there's this sort of like cyclical lyricism, as well as just kind of, yeah, that art form of like trying to find a character from a different time or place or experience and just tell a story about them, like a miniature, like a flash fiction kind of thing. Yeah.
Does anyone have a question for Fern?
Fern, did you say that it's sometimes the new song takes about 8 months to... is that what you said?
I was saying generally to like record the song. It takes me, I would say I'm kind of like a fast songwriter. Some songs take, I've been working on this one. There's one song I've been working on for like 3 freaking years that's still not done. But mostly songs kind of come to me and take shape within a week or so. But recording them, getting them on the digital sphere, that takes me a really long time. Yeah.
What I wanted to say was that given the whole question of what I call the gestation, the coming to birth of a kind of, you know, a performance of something, do you ever have to sort of, how I should say, put it underground for a while?
Yes, definitely.
To kind of let it do its work somewhere else?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes the co-producers and engineers I work with get frustrated about that, because I'm like, I'm not going to think about this for 3 months and then we'll come back to it and I'll... Yeah, I find, you know, my process is slow, but it is consistent. Like, it does get done, but it's just like, I just realized that my speed of creation it's not snappy.
The themes appear quite dark. Obviously, the best folk. Hannah, what's the best folk about?
It's
Death. That's why I was very interested to see, you know, was Dorothy May pregnant? Was she pregnant by a brother?
Yeah.
Had he tried to kill her?
Yeah.
I mean, she's alive. That's a start for a woman in a folk song.
Sure,
she's alive.
Yeah.
But what the reasons for exploring those kind of themes?
Yeah, you know, I think I've gotten that question before on this tour. I did another radio interview, and you know, I think sometimes if people are familiar with my like online social media presence, like it's very easy to think that I'm just this kind of like twee little cottager living like a perfect, like Beatrix Potter lifestyle in the woods of Vermont. And, it's because, I post pictures of goats and stuff like that. But, there's a lot of suffering that goes involved in that lifestyle, and that
you kill the goats, yeah?
Well, yes, I have done that. Yes, I have killed the goats. Yeah, I think I personally struggle with a lot of depression in my life, and I think you'll hear that as you continue to hear my set. I speak to that a little bit more directly, but also being able to kind of have a container and have a space with which to engage with those stories and those themes and that kind of cultural and personal darkness, I feel it's an important part for me of me being a healthy person in the world, personally.
Well, thank you for sharing that. A round of applause. Thanks, Fern. That's really interesting. We'll do a few more questions after the next.
That was Fern Maddie with her medley of two Appalachian instrumentals, Home with the Girls in the Morning and Julianne Johnson. The former has been around since the 1800s. The latter was popularised by fiddle player Emmett Lundy from Galax, Virginia, after being captured on a field recording by the great American ethnomusicologist Alan Lomax for the Archive of American Folksong at the Library of Congress.
Lomax in Galax.
I was just about to say that. Back to the interview. Picking up on a comment Fern had made in her set about the emergence of a new folk renaissance, Nick shared his observations that if this was a thing, it appeared that women musicians, such as Angeline Morrison, were at its vanguard, and asked Fern why that could be.
Obviously, the songs that I choose to highlight in my traditional kind of repertoire are about women and about women's stories. But I would also say that in general, there actually are a lot of women's stories in the traditional balladry record that haven't necessarily been always sung and kind of, reshared, by women. Like, for instance, Hairs on the Mountain, that song that I just sang, my first exposure to that song was actually a Utah Phillips song called Rock, Salt, and Nails, which isn't Hairs on the Mountain, but he uses some of the imagery from Hairs on the Mountain in it. He has a line that says, "If you ladies were blackbirds, if you ladies were thrushes, I'd lie out for hours in the cold, chilly marshes. If you ladies were squirrels with high bushy tails, I'd fill up my shotgun with rock, salt, and nails." And that song is very violent. It's very violent in a gendered way. And he actually, he kind of disowned the song later. He, didn't want to keep sharing it and keep continuing the song for that reason. But so that was my exposure to those kind of lyrics, right? And then I discovered that actually this is kind of a motif that he lifted from Hairs on the Mountain. And so I came to that song immediately already understanding it in the context of gendered violence, and that was the story that I wanted to tell with it. Whereas, in some traditions, it's just like a bawdy courtship song, right? It's not necessarily, it doesn't have that kind of dark twist or whatever. So I do think kind of bringing new voices and new perspectives. You mentioned Angeline Morrison, who obviously is kind of bringing out these songs of the Black British experience and Black British folk music. So yeah, I think there's a through thread there of kind of new perspectives on old stuff that maybe brings fresh life to it.
I think it really does, and all those artists that work from traditional perspective and traditional songs, just those slight twists, I think are making them even more powerful now. So it's amazing you're doing the same thing. Hannah, you had a question. Hannah from Finding Land Folk Show, everyone.
Right, this isn't a loaded question.
Okay.
But you were talking about the fact that you sing American folk and British folk.
Sure, yeah.
Do you have a preference?
I think part of what is kind of happening in the folk world in the United States right now, which, kind of folk music, country western music, Appalachian music, all of these things, which kind of create the genre that we know of as Americana. Historically, there's been kind of a story that this is, Irish and Scottish fiddle music that's just gone to the States and become Americana. And I think what a lot of people are kind of bringing voice to right now is actually that those are Black American genres. And that early in the 20th century, basically, Black artists who are making country western music were put into a niche, and white artists who are making country western music were put into a niche called country. And that, and so then there's kind of these subgenres of blues and R&B and, all the immense musical diversity that we see in the United States. But, what we're finding is that a lot of actually the Appalachian tradition is a Black folk tradition. So I think for me, kind of learning, I do play clawhammer banjo. I play songs that are kind of from that mixed tradition, and the history of the banjo is very complex and loaded as well. So kind of part of my journey and engagement with that was kind of trying to find songs that, and again, I don't think that I have a better right to sing songs from one place or the other. I don't really think folk works that way, but for me, kind of trying to find my voice in the tradition, kind of going back to where kind of my ancestral roots, you might say, might have come from, felt resonant. And again, I don't think that ancestry is the important part of folk culture. I really don't. But just that was kind of the journey that led me into this place. Yeah.
Just to go a little bit more granular, you've spoken a little bit about your songwriting process and how it goes over months, etc. But do you have a particular order? Do you have is there a melody that comes first, a lyric, a phrase, or could it be anything that comes first? How do your songs tend to develop?
It's generally riffs first. Like I kind of mentioned, the kind of like what I think of as like the trancey aspects of folk music, how they're often these kind of just like melodic things that are repeated. So that I'll be like with my instrument and I'll just start doing something that I'll just have a little, a part of a tune, a little riff, and I'm just playing that over and over again. And the kind of like the repetitiveness of that, and both, in how I'm playing it and then how it's kind of like feeding through my mind in this loop, that's when sort of like melody lines. And usually then it'll be like the melody first and I'll just be like humming or doing like, gibberish lyrics. And then, I'll try to start to figure out what I'm actually trying to say. Sometimes, like, I've occasionally, like, written a poem and then put it to lyrics, or put it to music, but usually it's the music first. Yeah.
And is it organic in terms of deciding when a song stays an instrumental or when one becomes a lyric-based song?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, some riffs kind of just, like, are tunes of themselves, and then some riffs they're just meant to be the chords behind the song, and I feel like I can feel that out sometimes. Yeah.
So Maddie, everyone, round of applause.
Must be be foolish, your man must be mad. Let the wind blow high, blow low. I deluded them all as well as yourself. And again, I'm a maid on the shore. 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 Thank you.
That was The Maid on the Shore by Fern Maddie. Over the years, various versions of this song have been covered by such folk luminaries as Martin Carthy, Peggy Seeger and Nancy Kerr. Back to the final part of the interview, where I start off asking Fern about the folktronica elements she has on her album Ghost Story. So Fern, on your album there is a little bit of experimentation, isn't there? There's you've got drum machines, looping and electronica. Yeah. What are you trying to express when you're bringing those elements in?
I don't even know.
That's the first rubbish answer.
I can.
What's your reasoning?
No,
yeah, so what's your reasoning for bringing those? I mean, they work really well, and that's becoming a kind of more of a thing within folk now as well.
I think so. There was a lot of really like downer stuff on the album, right? It's kind of like a dark album, and there's really just drum machine on one song, which is called The House, and so that was like kind of this love song, and you know, in the tradition, it's not gendered in that way, right? It's shepherd lad. So I made a choice to make that like from the perspective of my singing a queer love story, and then I wanted it to be about the joy of that, right? And the joy that like can radiate back through, hypothetically, can radiate back through the generations, right? Because we know people had queer experiences in the, 18th century when that was written. We just don't have as many stories about them. So the drums and kind of, it's a little bit more of like a party dance anthem, I guess you could say. It was more about kind of trying to include an expression of joy on the album and using those elements to pump up the joy.
Pump up the volume.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
So Maddie does hip hop. You heard it here first. Do you see that, increasing in your music in the future? Have you got any idea of your kind of musical direction at all?
I can see that. There's there's the drums on Call the Hours, and then there's a song I didn't play tonight, an original song called You Left This, which had kind of like sampling on it.
That's so beautiful.
A sample of my father's piano playing that it has a little bit of a like electronic sound. And I do like the idea of kind of incorporating more samples into my music. Maybe more, I don't know about drum machines. There definitely might be more kind of just percussive elements in general as I expand and hopefully have some other people playing along with me someday. Yeah, I definitely want to lean more into that experimental kind of folktronica, I guess you could say, but I don't want to lose. I think it's really easy to get, style over substance. So
it's not like a stick-on. You want it to be integral and have meaning within the song. What folk artists or musicians do you like and follow now?
So some of like my favorite folk artists currently working are Sam Amadon. He's from Vermont, but is now England-based. Lankum, Irish band, love them. Lots of stuff coming out of Ireland. Vagabonds, John Francis Flynn, Lisa O'Neill. I love Lisa Knapp as well. She's been really inspirational for me. Angeline Morrison, I love her album. In the States, there's a few banjo players, Jake Blount and Rhiannon Giddens, who are doing really amazing work with kind of, again, that black banjo reclamation. Sam Lee is another artist I've been very inspired by.
Fern, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honour and pleasure. I don't know what to say. I was quite emotional, wasn't it? You've always got friends down in the Foghorn. And when you start playing bigger venues, can you do a little warm-up gig here in the future? We got a guarantee that whatever happens, you'll do a warm-up gig here first.
This is always my favourite kind of thing.
Yeah, I've recorded it. Yeah, so Wembley Stadium, but before that, a pre-warm-up at the Foghorn. Although it's £50 a ticket. Yeah. Right, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to play some music. So a warm round of applause for Fern.
Moving to move, nothing to gain. Loving to love, don't need a name. It's coming in like clouds bringing rain. Gotta hold on, gotta hold on. Gotta hold on. Tell me what's right, tell me what's wrong. Too many words, talking so long. Changing my ways, new road I'm on. Gotta hold on, gotta hold on. Changing my ways, new road I'm on. Gotta hold on, gotta hold on. I wanna be there, wanna see it for myself. Too many years spent chasing thoughts around my head, like Bible would say, we're just walking each other. So you gotta hold on. I'm changing my ways. New road I'm on. Gotta hold on. So you gotta hold on. Changing my ways. New road I'm on. Gotta hold on. Gotta hold on. Changing my ways. New road I'm on. Gotta hold on. Gotta hold on. Gotta hold on.
That was the folktronica of Hold On by South Carolinian singer-songwriter Trevor Hall with Californian future folk band Gone Gone Beyond on their joint 2020 single on the Three Rivers record label. We'd like to thank Fern Maddie for taking part in the live Q&A with such grace and for the 2 world-exclusive live tracks. Thank you, Fern.
Hannah?
Nick?
Are you going to continue this sort of Bob Harris-style whispering for future episodes?
Maybe I might. Who knows?
That's good, because the other DJ you look like, we can't name him anymore.
That is so...
With all your gold and tracksuits.
That is so rude. So rude.
We end today's show with a further announcement of another Finding Land folk show DJ experience.
Experience or appearance? Are you starting to term yourself as an experience now, Nick? Funny that you're saying that, because I was thinking with all these DJ appearancing, you're starting to become like the Radio 1 Roadshow. Like, next thing, you're going to get me out there with bloody T-shirt cannons, banging them out to all these poor folk fans that have gone to sort of quiet, nice folk shows.
This time... at the Brunswick Cellar Bar in Hove on the 10th of March, the day before my 21st birthday.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
Where we will be supporting collaborative drone folk duo Bird Ellen on their Brighton leg of their UK March tour, with this show also featuring the sublimely beautiful psychedelic folk of previous Sussex best band, Sari.
I'm really looking forward to that, Nick.
From their 2021 album, Says the Never Beyond, this is Bird Ellen with Pleased to See the King. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Joy, health, love and peace be all here in this place. By your leave we will sing concerning our King. Our King is well dressed in the silks of the best, in ribbons so rare, no king can compare. We have travelled many miles over hedges and stiles in search of our King. Unto you we bring, we have powder and shot to conquer the lot. We have cannon and ball to conquer them all. Old Christmas is past, 12tide is the last, and we bid you adieu. Great joy to the new.
Radio Lewis. Local community webcasting.